electric mobility. We have two very distinguished ministers here, the Minister of Finland and the Deputy Minister of China, two countries that take the electric mobility challenge very, very seriously and accordingly make very strong steps in the right direction. When we look globally, ladies and gentlemen, last year was a very, very successful year for the electric car sales. We have seen that the car sales exceeded 1 million cars, very good number, which brought the number of electric cars on the roads of the world to 3 million cars. So as of today, as we speak, there are 3 million electric cars in the streets of the world. In a very short period of time, we have seen this strong increase of the EVs in the world. But if you put in a context, it is still, the car sales are still only 1% of the total car sales. 99% still not electric cars. But we have a lot of hope to see further penetration. We have at least 3 reasons why we think we should be hopeful. There is a growing momentum on the policy side. The governments, different parts of the world, in China, in Europe, India, many countries around the world, the governments are putting a lot of support, financial support, legislative support behind the electric cars. And the auto industry, we are at the IEA, we are looking at the, almost every car manufacturer, what they are planning, what they are designing for the new car models. We see that there is a growing interest, business interest from the car manufacturers for reducing the greenhouse gases, but also, as important as that, as a driver, reducing the local pollution in the cities. I think this is a very important driver as well. This is the second factor we think there is a reason to be hopeful. The third one is that we also see that the cost of batteries are going down significantly. We are not yet there that they can be electric cars completely competitive vis-a-vis the internal combustion engine cars, but we see that the cost of batteries are going down. While I talk about the electric cars, we know that the electric mobility is beyond electric cars. Perhaps my colleague, the Deputy Minister of China, will tell you about the two-wheelers in China, a major phenomena in China, as well as the strongly growing electric buses in China, which is a very important part of the Chinese electric mobility program. For all these reasons, addressing the environmental issues, improving the energy efficiency, enhancing the oil security, we, IEA, we closely follow the electric mobility issues, and we are very delighted that the CEM has established the electric vehicle initiative co-led by Canada and China, and we are the one who is coordinating these efforts. Now, before finishing my words, I should tell you that my colleague, Pier Paolo Cazzola, who is a big fan of electric cars. So you cannot discuss with him anything else but electric cars at the IEA. Am I right? Yes. So, and he and his team put together our global EV outlook. So where are we going based on the government plans, based on the economics of it, how it is going to develop, and based on the plans of the manufacturers. We talk almost all key car manufacturers. What are their plans? And of course, we don't, I don't know if there are car manufacturers here, we don't take it the face value always. We look at our own filtering, what is feasible, what is not feasible, and we put together this, the electric vehicle initiative and the global EV outlook. So Pier Paolo, after the ministers, will give us a presentation of how the EV outlook looks like. So I would turn to first the Chinese deputy minister to tell us the Chinese efforts and plans. What are the plans there? Because today, when I told you 1 million cars sold, half of them were in China, the other half, the rest of the world. So therefore, we would like to listen China and what their plans are. Then we would like to turn to the Finnish minister, who has been very busy, Mr. Minister, in the last 2 days. Thank you very much for hosting us. And we would like to hear from you this pilot city program. In that respect, it will be a great pleasure to hear your views on that. But now may I turn to Mr. Li Meng to hear from the Chinese perspective on electric mobility. So, thank you.
各位来宾、女士们、先生们，大家下午好。
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests.
我刚才看了这个芬兰的部长，他只拿了1页纸，其实跟我这个稿子的长度差不多，但是我要用1倍的时间。
I just noticed that the Finnish minister had 1 page note for his speech, and actually I have roughly also 1 page, but I'm afraid I will take double the time because also for the translation.
对，因为有他存在。
The interpreter.
非常高兴参加2018年的这个 CEM9 的电动汽车边会。我代表中方感谢参与 EVR 各成员国和国际能源署。
So it gives me great pleasure to attend this side event on electric vehicles, and on behalf of the Chinese Ministry of Science and Technology, I'd like to show my gratitude to all the members of the EVI and also to IEA.
在2010年的时候，20国清洁能源部长会议上，中美2国共同提出来电动汽车这个倡议，也就是今天的EVR， 得到了众多国家以及国际能源署的响应。那么中国一直积极地参与 EVR 的工作和推动电动汽车的发展。
Well, the EVI initiative was first put forward in 2010 by China and America at the G20 CEM meeting, and that was warmly responded by the IEA.
第一呢，我们建立了电动汽车的国际示范区，在 EVR 的框架下，中国选定了上海的嘉定，作为国际电动汽车联合示范区。经过建设，示范区的功能基本上完善了，包括试乘试驾、运营服务，还有数据采集等中心，实现了同一平台下国内外汽车车型的示范运营。
Well, China has demonstrated a strong participation in the work of EVI and also the EV development in China, and we have made a lot of progress in this regard. First, we have established some international pilot zones in China on EI. So under the EVI framework, we have selected the city of Jiading and Shanghai, of Jiading district of Shanghai as one of the pilot zones for EV.
第二呢，是举办了国际性的这个示范城市的交流论坛。为促进这个 EVR 各成员国这个示范城市的交流和合作，我们成功的举办了这个2011年、2013年和2015年以及2017年的国际电动汽车示范城市的交流和这个产业发展的论坛。
So the construction of the pilot zones have been well established, including the test driving and a test ride, and also we have established a operation service center and a data collection center. And the second measure is that we have held many international forums to exchange our work on the pilot zones. So, and China has established an international exchange platform in this regard, and we have successfully held such a forum in 2011, 2013, and 15, and 17.
第三呢，我们推动开展了这个国际的合作研究，包括我们依托这个嘉定国际示范区和这个美国加州大学戴维斯分校开展了这个消费者的 联合调查研究，跟与这个巴黎综合理工大学开展了汽车共享这个商业模式合作研究等工作，还与美国的爱德华国家实验室形成了这个示范数据交流的合作机制。
We also have carried out a deep international cooperation on research. We have harnessed the Jiading pilot zones of Shanghai and carried out a joint research cooperation on the consumers together with the University of California, Davis of United States, and also we have carried out joint research on the business models of car sharing with the École Polytechnique University of Paris. And also, we have a joint lab with the a joint collaboration mechanism with the Edward National Lab of United States.
第四呢，我们支持这个 EVR 成员国的国际的示范的数据共享，定期向秘书处提供中国电动汽车示范推广的有关数据的信息。
Fourth, we support the data sharing among the member states of EVI, and China has frequently updated our data to the Secretariat of EVI on China's electric vehicle development.
现在EVR 已经进入了这个2.0的阶段。那么在 CEM 的框架下 ，EVR 主导的发起了这个 EV30@30这个挑战行动，目标呢就是到2030年，电动汽车的销量占到全球新车销量的30%。
So we have entered the EVI 2.0, and we have launched the EV30@30 campaign under the CEM framework. This will aim for the sales of the electric vehicles to take up half of the 30% of the global new car sales by 2030.
为了实现这样的目标，中方在这个EV30@30挑战行动中提出了全球电动汽车示范城市的发展项目。我们计划在5年内，在全球招募100个电动汽车的友好城市，共同推广电动汽车的政策法规、城市规划、充电技术、共享出行等方面开展交流和合作。
So to achieve the target of EV30@30, China has launched a project called the Pilot City Program on EV. The target is to establish friendly city friendship with 100 cities around the world within 5 years. And so in this way, we can carry out exchanges and a cooperation on policy and regulation, on city planning, and on the charging technology exchange, and also on the shared mobility.
目前的这个示范城市的项目已经成为我们实现挑战目标的一个重要的抓手。中方和这个国际能源署共同设立了全球电动汽车示范友好城市发展项目的秘书处，来共同推动电动汽车在全球范围内的示范。截至目前为止，全球共有7个国家、18个城市参与了这个项目。
So the PCP program has become an important way for China and for us to achieve the target for EV30@30. And China and together with IEA, we have established jointly a secretariat for the PCP program. And by far, around 18 cities from 7 countries have confirmed their participation in the program.
在中国，电动汽车的发展得到了市场的这个极大的追捧。发展的进展就出乎我们意料之外。
And now EV has developed in such a popular way that is out of our expectation.
比如说，我们在2017年的新能源汽车的销量是接近78万辆，比2016年增长了53%。
You know, the new energy car sales in China for 2017 reached 780,000, up by 53% against that of 2016.
今年的1到3月份，这个销量达到了14万辆，同比增长了154%。
And the new energy car sales for the first quarter from January to March this year has reached 140,000, up by 154.3% year on year.
当然了，它的市场占有率还比较小，现在是达到了2.69%。
Yet we are aware that the EV still has a low share of the total car sales market, only 2.69%.
未来呢，我们是有一个科技创新的计划，就是要以电动化、智能化和轻量化这3化作为发展的方向，来推动产业技术升级。
So we are also designing some science and technology programs to promote the development of electric, intelligent, and a lightweight technology in the EV sector to promote the upgrade and the transition of the EV industry.
当然了，适应未来这个大规模的市场应用，我们现有的政策体系也要做相应的调整。比如说，怎么精准地制定新能源汽车的财政激励的政策，还有这个电力价格的改革政策，以及这个自动驾驶的政策。
So in order to achieve and encourage the wide application of the EV, we have to adjust in the policy sector. For example, we need to carry out more incentives, more financial and fiscal incentives for the new energy cars, and also policies on the reform of electricity prices, and also policies related to encourage the automatic driving.
在电动汽车进入这个发展新时代的这个形势下，当然需要我们各国一起来努力，持续的加强这个科技创新、产业升级、政策创新、业态创新，来努力的实现我们EV30和ET30发展的目标。
Now the EV development has entered a new era, so we count on the collective efforts of all sides and all countries to promote innovation in the science and technology, the industry, the policy, and new business forms to achieve the target we set for EV30 and 30.
谢谢大家。
Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Limek. So we understood one more time that what we have seen in the solar PV panels, that China became the part of the solar PV adventure, and the prices went down substantially. The cost went down, and now we may see the same picture in terms of electric cars as China takes it so seriously. Now, innovation is in the DNA of Finland. May I say so, Mr. Minister?
You are allowed to do that.
Thank you very much. In general, in technology, but I listened to Mr. Minister very carefully in the last 2 days, and I am very hopeful that we will see the innovation and the clean energy adventure of Finland comes together, and we have a lot of expectations from Finland, Mr. Minister, in terms of putting the innovation in front of the technological development in Finland, and not only in your country, but to become a source of inspiration for many others.
Thank you for your kind words, and ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. It's my pleasure to launch the pilot city program with our collaborators from China and other countries, and help of experts from International Energy Agency here in the framework of the 9th Clean Energy Ministerial, which we just co-hosted with our Nordic neighbors and European Union Commission. Finland decided to join the CEM electric vehicle initiative and EV30 at 30 campaign, and to be an active partner in pilot city program for a number of reasons. Our energy and climate strategy for 2030, launched in November 2016, calls for 50% transport-related greenhouse gas emission reduction by 2030. To achieve this goal, the strategy sets specific targets for fuels and vehicles in that year. So one way to reduce emissions is that we are heading 30% biofuel quota with all fuels sold by that year, advanced second and third generation biofuels. We are going to raise the share of electric vehicles it's very limited at the moment in Finland, but our target is that it will be 2,500, so around 10% or more of all vehicles in traffic. But that means that we have to sell annually about 1/3 of the annual share by that year. So that's very well fit with the target of this initiative. And then we have some targets also for biogas fueled vehicles. Why Finland is interested in that? It's not only that we see the necessity of electric vehicles, but I think that if electric vehicles can deliver in the Arctic winter conditions in Finland, they can deliver wherever. So we are like a test bed. So if electric cars can be used in our winter conditions, they are climate proof, I would say. But then there are some other reasons. I think that when the electric vehicle, the march of electric vehicles go forward, it means huge amount of batteries needed. And actually, in our ground, there are all those metals that are used for batteries of electric vehicles. So I think that sustainable mining and that kind of issues are very closely related to the electric vehicles because the number of batteries will be huge. And Finland would like to be also forerunner in circular economy. So in our thinking, the battery production must be organized in a way that the recycle possibilities of those metals are well determined beforehand. So for these reasons, it's not only electric vehicles, but the circular economy and sustainability of these issues that we would like to affect. But ladies and gentlemen, to launch the pilot city program we are doing here, this program call for cooperation cities interested in making it easier and more attractive for their residents to make the switch to electric vehicles. Cities will play a key role in helping to achieve the goal of Electric Vehicles 30 at 30 campaign. This campaign, launched at the 2017 CEM Ministerial, has a collective aspirational goal for all EVI members of reaching a 30% market share for electric vehicles in the total of all passenger cars, light commercial vehicles, buses and trucks by 2030. The cities will work to establish common indicators to monitor EV-related developments, such as the number of vehicles, vehicle travel activity, and the number and type of chargers available, and also exchange information on successful policy practices and replicable solutions. The Pilot City program aims to build a network of 100 electric vehicle-friendly cities. And I'm delighted to announce that we already have around 30 cities that are either committed or shown interest and in a process to join, to be a member of this unique network. And hopefully all of them will be joining soon. So I wish all the best for these forerunner cities joined already or joining soon to work with us for better living conditions of their citizens. Thank you.
So I would like to thank both our speakers. I will limit myself to just one slide to introduce the panel that will follow and give the floor to Paola, who's going to chair this panel. It's a slide that I think is quite representative of the role of cities in promoting electric mobility. It compares market shares of electric vehicles in cities which are located amongst the leading countries in terms of EV deployment, and it shows that what happens in the urban environment anticipates the change that then follows across the whole country. So The key point of the following panel will be to discuss how we can mobilize action in cities. The underlying logic of the PCP is to prioritize action in cities to then have this dynamic development trickle across the whole country. I will stop it here in terms of my intervention in order to maximize the time we can give to our panelists to follow up. So, Paula, I'm happy to pass you.
Okay, let's thank our panelists.
And thank to our ministers.
Round of applause for them. Okay, as we turn our attention to a discussion that will provide a bit of a teaser as to the kinds of info sharing that we could expect. The kind of info sharing that we could expect from the Pilot Cities Forum that will have its inaugural session next week in Helsinki. So I'm going to ask my panelists to come on up and take their seats. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, again, and welcome. Today's panel, really, as I said, is supposed to be a bit of a teaser on the kinds of info sharing that we're going to have between cities that will start next week in Helsinki. I'm going to introduce our panelists. And I apologize in advance for how some of these names are going to sound. No disrespect intended. Our first panelist is Zhao Hongchang, Vice Mayor of Rigao Municipal Government. Followed by Lynn Short, Councillor from Dundee City Council. Then Monica Kusela, Senior Manager of Fordham. Sandra Rowling, Head of EV100, the Climate Group. Followed by Urban Vestjung, Senior Advisor, Public and Sustainability Affairs, Scania. And last but not least, and this is the one I'm really going to have issues with, Tor Heritoy.
Very close.
Close enough. CEO of E.ON Denmark. So our panel today is going to address, very briefly, again, a teaser, 5 key themes that really reflect the opportunities and challenges that cities will face as they move on a path to greater electrification of transportation. Those themes are the role of the public sector, city-level EV governance and initiatives, EVs and utilities, the role of collaboration with the private sector, and electrification of public transit. We're going to have a bit of a different style today. I'm going to start by posing some questions, and our panelists will take turns providing some information. And again, this is not all that you will hear on this subject matter. It really is a teaser for what more is to come as part of this exciting program that was just launched minutes ago. I will ask everyone to use their outdoor voices, as these are really not microphones. These are just recording devices, so to ensure that our colleagues at the end of the room can hear us, I'll ask you to use your outdoor voices. First question. Which policies will be best to encourage EV adoption in cities? And I think our first question goes to the Vice Mayor of Rigao.
女士们、先生们，大家下午好。非常高兴有这样一个机会，把我们政府政策对新能源汽车推广使用所起的作用，在这里把我们的想法和大家来进行分享。
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's our pleasure to share our thought and practice in the policies.
我们认为公共政策具有鲜明的导向作用，特别是在城市的这个电动汽车的推广使用方面， 政府部门需要通过出台政策来整合社会各方面的资源，完善公共服务体系，以便推动新能源汽车的推广使用。
We believe the public policies plays the important role of orientation for society. To promote electrical vehicle in urban area, the government needs to integrate social resource, improve the public service system, and encourage the involvement of various entities.
第一呢，就是政府部门呢要首先制定出台带头使用电动汽车的政策。公共部门作为示范性的主体，示范性的群体，其行为呢往往产生一个社会风向标的作用。那么在公共管理和公共服务的领域，作为我们政府可以积极引导公共用车、城市公交、执法巡逻、环卫等公共部门使用的车辆，优先采购使用电动汽车。那么公共部门的出行在新常态将能很好的示范社会公众改变出行方式。
We believe the government should take the lead to use the electrical vehicle by themselves, and this is the best support for the industry. Public service department becomes the model of demonstration, and its behavior always influence orientation for society. For example, in public service and management, government can make priority procurement on EVs in public fleet, legal enforcement fleet, bus transportation, etc. This is going to be a great example for public to change the way of the traveling.
第二呢是政府要加强技术研发的政策的支持力度。电动汽车的安全性和续航里程问题应该是社会上公众普遍关心的问题。政府部门应该鼓励、支持和参与第三方搭建科技平台，制定出来相关的优惠政策，促推电动汽车的技术的研发的速度，及时有效地解决电动汽车使用过程当中出现的一些问题，让更多的公众信赖和自发地使用电动汽车。
Second, we think we have to reinforce the policy support in the tech R&D. The public is normally concerned about the safeties and the driving mileage and the problem associated with the electrical vehicle. So the government should encourage and participate in building the technology research platform with third parties. The focus is to make policies, speed up the R&D process of electrical vehicle, solve the problem in EV deployment, and give public the confidence of using electrical vehicle.
第三呢是作为政府要完善城市的充电基础设施的规划布局。那么消费者使用电动汽车的一大忧虑呢，就是汽车的用电量不足怎么办？那么政府部门应该将充电的基础设施纳入城市的整个发展规划，在建立公共充电场所，同时在居民小区、停车场、酒店、商业区也要增加充电站的布局，让充电更加方便。
The third policy area is perfect the construction plan for infrastructure, because one major concern of the consumer is where to get charged. The government should integrate the charging station construction into the city planning and make charging the electric vehicle more convenient than filling the gas card. Public charging stations need to be built in communities, parking lots, hotels, and commercial centers.
第四呢，就是要优化电动汽车的出行的政策，在电动汽车给予通行便利，在免限行、免限购、发放新能源汽车专用号牌、电池回收利用等问题上，落实相应的支持政策，突破传统燃油汽车的交通的管制限制，让电池汽车呢使用者能得到更多的享受政策的红利。
The first one is improve the legal policies for electrical vehicle, such as provide privilege to the EV in the transportation system, and and put the purchase, waive the purchase restriction on electrical vehicle, and issue the electrical vehicle a special license. And then the consumer of electrical vehicle should enjoy more benefit from policies compared with gasoline car users.
第五呢是要积极引导，鼓励市场参与，鼓励社会资本参与电动汽车的运营管理，促进形成统一竞争、有序的市场环境。
The fifth one is encourage and guide the participant of the market identity.
我们如皋呢，目前已引进了多家电动汽车的运营服务公司，创造性的开展了电动汽车的分时租赁、网联共享等业务模式。目前呢，投放的电动汽车已经达到了3800辆。同时呢，整个城市的公交车的纯电动化率达到了72%，公务用车纯电动化率达到86%，应该说为百姓的日常出行提供了很大的便利。
I will cite the number from Rugao to demonstrate the public policies. In Rugao, right now, there have several EV operation service companies with over 3,800 electrical vehicles in the market. And also, we renovate the business model for time-sharing cars and the internet sharing economies.
好，谢谢大家。
All right, thank you.
A lot of very innovative and solid policies recommended there. Our second question, how should the EV policy mix change over time as cities deploy?
I take that one?
Sure then.
Okay, everybody hear me okay? First of all, thank you very much for having me here this afternoon. I represent Dundee City Council and we are one of the partners of the PCP. I got here very quickly, so it was just announced. However, what I'd like to do is perhaps take you a little bit through our journey because we're quite far on and that's why I'm here representing today. First of all, just to give you a few facts and figures, 10% of the taxis on our roads in Dundee are actually electric vehicles. And within there we've actually got a couple of Teslas, believe it or not. We also had a 3% increase in cars purchased that were EVs last year, which again I believe is quite a high number. In addition, we actually have over 90 vehicles within our own city fleet, so that's working around the council, and that is the largest amount right across the UK. And we also work very closely with partner organisations, so the hospitals, and we work with the universities. So what we do is we see their fleets rising as well. So we've come to a really good place. And just to answer the question, how should the EV policy mix change over time for cities? Don't start with that and think that's going to work as a strategy. Start there and go slowly and build and build. This area where we're now, it's taken about 5-6 years to get to, and it's been very much a case of, if I had 3 hands, I would have them open, because we get money from Westminster, we get money from the Scottish Government, and we also get money from the European Union, and we always like to say yes. We talked about friendly cities, you won't get friendlier than Dundee. And what we do is we like to make use of that. One of the things that we've done is we've used the carrot as opposed to the stick when it comes to creating a sea change with the electric vehicles. I like to think that we've got 26 square miles of perfection within our city because it's very small and compact. It also has a very low amount of car users or car owners within the city. So there is quite much economic deprivation as well. So these are all things that have had to be countered into the policy. Various things that have incentivised have been free parking, free electricity. Obviously, there's no taxation on electric vehicles in the UK. For the taxes, we provide less expensive MOT testing, which obviously is an incentive. Also within Scotland, you can get a 0% interest-free loan to buy an electric vehicle. And home chargers, because again, we've got the two governments, if you have a home charger, you can get that installed for free as well, which obviously is very useful. As well as having people with homes where they can have their own private charger. In addition, we have many tenemental properties, and that's where we've been moving now to make it adequate for those people. Sorry. Basically, what we've done is we've created hubs, and these hubs are basically large areas where 7, 8, 9 cars can charge at the same time. They've been fitted so that they're future-proof, so that can increase over time. The next thing we're about to do is, when we've got multi-storey municipal car parks, we're about to put PVUs on them so that workers during the day can use them when they're commuting, but in the evening they can be used by residents. And finally, we're about to experiment putting them into school playgrounds so that, again, residents that live near school areas can go into the school playgrounds and use them in the evening, and then school teachers during the day. And that's just a little bit of what we're doing. But as you said, you'll hear much more next week from my colleagues. And if you'd like to come to Dundee, please feel free.
Yeah, small but mighty, very strategic, solid steps.
Thank you.
Third question, how would the utilities contribute to the EV uptake at municipal levels?
So I think that I'm kind of good to respond to that question, especially that we have heard today that innovation is in the Finnish DNA. And I have a pleasure to represent the company that its roots are actually in Finland. The name is Fortum, and we are a big energy company, while among different operations we are also delivering the services for the charging of the cars. We are cooperating obviously with the cities, and we have had experience with what is working well and what is not working that great. And I think that what is really important for us as a charge point operator or constructor when we are trying to build up the charging points is the land. So basically what we would like to see is that the cities where they are planning, the urban planning, they are planning the charging points in the places that they are easily accessible and they are visible. So the EV drivers can see them, they know where they are, and they know how to get there. This is really important. I know it sounds maybe silly, but it's really important for us as the operators. Another thing is that we would like to see also that the cities are thinking about their own developments, and they are, as we have just heard from two representatives of the cities, that they are thinking about their own fleet, that it should be electric. But also I think that while electrifying the fleet of the cities, they are enabling the market to emerge, and they're enabling the private operators to build more and more charging stations that will serve both purposes, the public charging and also the private charging. And I would, because the time is really short, so I would encourage you to visit the webpage fortum.com and see what we do to provide urban areas and the cities with sustainable solutions. And especially the Finnish city of Espoo is a very good example. We are struggling for the sustainable city and clean city by 2030. And if you can, of course, reach me after the panel and we can discuss more. There is plenty to say from the operator point of view. Just to kind of prove what I just said is that we are at the moment operating 67,000 charging points around Europe and in India. So we are present in 33 countries. So please just reach on a break and we can discuss.
Sorry for cutting you off. I think Tor had something to add to that.
I can add very sort of briefly, because I actually agree on most of what Monica said. I come out of a utility as well, big European utility. Actually, we are so in love with e-mobility that we we care about it as our most precious baby. We acknowledge that actually this is a partnership where you have to cooperate with the cities, because the cities is the main driver, as Pierre Paolo showed on the map. So what we did in Copenhagen as a showcase is actually contributing to their vision of actually being the first capital in the world being fossil independent in only 7 years from now. And that's a big task, and part of the task is actually to translate all of the mobility facilities into zero emission. And part of that is actually to do joint partnership with the private sector, because municipalities in Denmark is not putting up infrastructure by their own. It's the private sector doing it. And this is our sort of a way of actually acting together with the municipalities, supporting them in their vision. We are bringing infrastructure, we are bringing customers. We see that as our main task of actually transforming the cities. Just to give one number, is actually last year we headed for 1 million charges for only this area in Copenhagen. 1 million interactions is actually quite a lot. We expect to hit 2 million this year. This is just to show where is the curve going. So there's only one direction, and that is to embrace this translation, and it's actually to embrace municipalities and customers and private sector all together, because we can only solve the question together. And we all have different competences, and I only encourage everyone to join forces, because that's the way we're going to reach the target of bringing zero emission into the cities in the future.
Could not agree more. In the last couple minutes that we have, as you just wrap up, I'm going to ask Sandra to talk about what opportunities there are for private sector initiatives, and then Urban to talk about mass transit and e-buses.
Yeah, thanks very much. And I guess I should recognize that some of the colleagues who've already spoken are also private sector. But I think one of the opportunities that's sometimes overlooked is working with the private sector also on the demand side. So the Climate Group is running an initiative called EV100 that brings together companies that have made a public commitment to electric vehicles. So they're looking at transitioning their fleets, at putting in charging infrastructure at workplaces by 2030. And sort of, big brand names, IKEA, Vattenfall, EDF, Deutsche Post, DHL, so companies who have a big footprint in terms of their fleets, who can be part of that early demand, and companies who also have a big interface with staff and customers and can help, for example, with issues around charging. Workplace charging, I think, is the second most important bit for people to make a decision about electric vehicles. So we don't have too much time to share specific examples, but it's really just to say there's a big alignment between what those companies are trying to do, and obviously cities being a bit part of it. And so I think as best practice develops, as the cities in the pilot city program are thinking about their approaches, I've really encouraged them to also think about those types of companies as active participants and contributors who have very aligned targets and can help work towards.
Absolutely. And on
same goals.
e-buses.